Hello everyone and welcome to the OVRC. Welcome back to the OVRC GT3 Series. I am joined once again by Owen.
Hello everyone.
And we are here for round 4 at Suzuka. We're just joining it into practice, so just a bit of time before we head into qualifying. Do you want to quickly run over the standings?
Yeah, so currently leading the Drivers' Championship with 280 points is Mike Stoffmel, followed by Thomas Jansen with 244. Then a long way behind in third is John Dalton with 132 points. In fourth is Ryan Mawson with 128, followed by Christopher Verstappen in fifth with 102. Meanwhile, in the team standings, leading is Virtual Drivers by CX3, which is just Mike Stoffmel. Second is Rear Spin and Das with 158 points. Virtual Drivers by CX3 had 280 points, by the way. In third is Silver Missile Racing Team with 154, followed by S&P Team with 138, and then in fifth is Jensen Team Rocket W&D with 132 points. And of course, as always, if you want to see the full standings, you can do so at the link in the description.
Thank you for that, Owen, as we are just the last few people out on track in practice. As we're going to be heading qualifying, it's a 20-minute qualifying session as the session is now go, as who is apparently out front. That's John Dalton's out first car on track, so quite a busy track today. I think how many cars are on there? 28 cars have apparently joined the server, so quite a big grid, quite a busy track as we are at Suzuka, a very well known circuit. More well known for F1, I would say, rather than GT racing, but obviously Super GT race here in the real world. And once John Dalton starts his times out, we will do an onboard lap of it. But have you ever actually driven Suzuka before, Owen, in any sim before?
Yeah, I have. I think I've just done like hot lapping around it, not really any online races, I don't think. I do remember just driving the first sector in a Formula 1 car was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a good track to hot lap, honestly. It's one of those tracks, it's quite fun just to drive around on your own. You don't always have to be with other people, but quite good to race at. Quite a tricky track to overtake that though. Obviously, quite a lot of fast corners, not really many slow stop and go outside of the final chicane, which we will obviously show in a bit. But now I've enjoyed my time racing around here and hot lapping. Of course, just any time you're in an F1 car around here, it's a great time. Yeah, I think outside of Suzuka 10 hours and Super GT, not many GT races go on here, so great to see how the OVRC do, as John Dalton's going through the final chicane now. We'll start his first timed lap. As we will start to ride on board with him as he goes past the Ferris wheel to the side there, as we get now down to start, finish straight. So across the line now and starts his way down the hill towards the first corner. Tap brakes here and get to the apex. Ison his roll here, but you don't have to. And he brake again for the second part of it. Y here, and then you start the first part of the snake or the S's. Some people like to refer to them. Quite a quick section of corners. Generally want to avoid changing too much gear. You want to kind of get the flow through the corners as much as possible. Down to third here, I believe. Then you go back up the hill towards a Dunlop. Double apex here as you roll it around the second part of it. And then head into the Dagners. Quite sharp on the brakes here, flip the car in, roll a bit wide. This corner is surprisingly tricky. It's a lot slower than you think it is as he navigates it properly. And you got a short sprint up the hill towards the hairpin. Not always the best overtaking place, just due to the run out of the first Dagner, but possible one. As now we head down 200R. This is all flat out now from this bit. Just pin the throttle all the way. Then head into Spoon. The brake, that's the access road there. first part, run a bit wide, brake again for the second part. And you've got the back stretch of the track, which again is all flat for this. There's a small slight kink in it, going past the other pit lane, which is used for more junior series. Touch the brakes into 130 off, flip the car through, try not to go too wide. I'll hit hard on the brakes now for the chicane. And you got one more corner to go now, which is last curve, apparently. And that is a lap off Suzuka as John Dalton will cross the line and will set a quite a long run down to turn 1 to the start finish line. A 2-minute 3:99.
He sets a nothing. It looks like he's got his lap invalidated. So Marcus Lawrence taking P1 for now, 1:59.0, followed by Thomas Jensen and Jordan Wonsink. And got some more times coming in. Robert Nygaard taking P4 for now, Sebastian Bruni in P5.
As we start to see some laps forming now. Across the line and goes into P5. Look around and see where people are. So 15 minutes to go. So surprisingly quite a long lap around here. It feels quite fast when doing it. Driver's now heading to the final chicane now. Much stuff from a wheel. You're across the line.
A lot of people have their first laps in now. Some people are working on improvement. Mark Whitford currently in 6th is improving by half a second so far. Just notice there is quite a gap between P5 and P6, which is where John Dalton just went. That is a huge gap.
Yeah, this track is not exactly easy to get the most out of. I think track limits are being a bit of an issue in some places, whereas the track has been quite busy as a whole.
Yeah, Thomas Olsen just went into P6. Mark Whitford crossing the line and will overtake his ex-teammate John Dalton. So he moves into P7, still quite a huge gap to Thomas Olsen though, if he wants to gain any more positions.
Uxbit takes P1. Currently provisional pole with 148.7. That's quite, again, a 0.3 second gap to P2 now, so...
Marcus Lawrence is improving out there though, but only by 1/10 so far. Jordan Wonsink also improving by 2/10. Yes, I think he's just lost his improvement, but we'll see what truly happens when he crosses the line.
Bit of curb taken over by Valentin Muller as he's finishing his lap now in the Alexis. It's Mike Stoffmill
just went into P3.
It goes to P9.
As Wonsink comes into the pits, so he wasn't improving.
John Dalton improves and goes up to P8.
As Thomas Jensen was stopped on the side of the track, I think he was just Returning to the pit lane, he's currently in P4. Thomas Olsen, small improvement right now. See when he crosses the line, closes the gap to Nygaard, but stays in P7. Sebastian Brunner with an identical time to Avant and Molliet now.
Yeah, that's a... Not often you see a time like that, but obviously how it works is the person sets the time first, gets the position. So that's how it works out, but very close times there.
Molliet is lapping out there, but he is losing time at the moment.
Currently, a lot of people in the pit lane or just on their outlaps now, so not many improvements going on. Let's see the top end anyway.
Yeah, well, it seems like indeed the top ends are all on outlaps right now. Vincent Urbich also just coming out of the pits. So only Thomas Jansen still in the pit lane. And he is just heading out as well. Vincent Urbich is actually back in the pits and is going out again, so not happy with something on his outlap.
Sebastian Brunner doing for a small improvement right now.
Phantom Molliet is improving as well. Those two still on identical times so far, but looks like that's going to change very soon as Sebastian Brunner heads around the final corner. And he will cross the line and move to P9, overtaking Molliet and Whitford. Whitford just started a new lap, improving so far. Molliet losing his improvement as he gets halfway through the lap.
Markov moves to P12. Mawson moves to P10. Christopher Delvin currently in P18 right now, but was improving until he hit the Dagners and then lost a bunch of time.
Not really seeing many improvements right now. Markov and Butler were improving. As Mike Stoffmill heads out of the pits. Robert Nygaard on a small improvement right now. Other top runners are not really improving so far.
The whole pot run is not getting the time as they really want.
So almost everyone out on track right now, but not really seeing any improvements at the top of the field, although Thomas Jansen seems to be improving a little bit. We are also seeing some improvements in the midfield. Yes, I think Marcus Lawrence just improved, but I'm not sure. No, he didn't. I saw something move on the timing, but I didn't catch what it was.
I mean, Tom Potter, he just
Yeah, Tom Pottage did just set his fastest lap, so seems like he has moved into P5. Mark Whitford improving right now in the midfield. Small improvement for Robert Nygaard and Turner Wansink as well. Jensen going around the final corner. Doesn't look like he'll be improving. Got a fair gap to make up to Stoffmill as well.
Yeah, but lap is very quick right now. Points, no one's really closed it yet.
Yep, Mark Whitford about to cross the line. And looks like that lap got invalidated, unfortunately for him. So he stays in P13. Robert Nygaard improving by half a second. So he could gain a few positions if he finishes this lap. As he is near the end now. Looking good so far. 3 tenths up on his delta. Oh, he heads into the pit lane. That was rather unexpected.
Marcus Lawrence was on an improvement for most of the lap, but lost it all in the last chicane, so that possibly takes him a bit further out. He's got a few more minutes left to go, only 4 minutes 30 seconds.
So again, small improvements from Lawrence and Jansen. They seem to be sort of losing it towards the end of their laps, although Jansen going at the final corner now is 2 tenths up. So let's see what happens when he crosses the line. And he moves up to P3, overtakes Mike Stoffmill. Stoffmill about to start another lap, but struggling to improve. Marcus Lawrence still out there improving as well.
Mark Whitford improved his last lap.
As Lawrence heads into the final corner and loses his improvement. So again, he seems to be struggling in the final sector.
A lot of people are losing their time right now. I think Suzuka's turned out to be quite a challenging track, because some people we expect to be higher up are not nearly as high as they normally are. Mawson's down in P13, John Dalton's down in P11. Whitford's down a bit more than we expect him to be.
Ryan Mawson just gained a position, moved to P12, ahead of Sebastian Brunier. Christopher Strappen is on a 6 tenth improvement as he heads into the final sector. Strappen currently in P18. Looks like he might be able to gain a few positions on this lap.
Verstappen lost a lot of times in that final chicane.
Yeah, seems to have lost almost all of his improvements through there.
Gets a good exit
So
though.
really struggling through there. And looks like he has got his lap invalidated. He was on a time improvement, but he wouldn't have gained a position with that one.
1 minute to go, so everyone's probably on their outlap route about now. Actually, if they're not already on the outlap, they're going to struggle to hit the line before the checker goes out.
Yep, seems like a lot of our top drivers are getting towards the end of their outlaps right now. So they will be able to get another lap in. Tom Pottage is in the pits. As are Robert Nygaard and Thomas Olsen. John Dalton as well. A lot of people into the pits now. So they won't be able to set another lap. Thomas Jensen has just started another lap. Same with Mike Stoffmill. And our current P1 sitter, Vincent Urbich, also just started another lap. Jensen losing time so far through the S's.
Qualifying times over. The checker flag will be waiting as Sebastian Bruno is heading to Spoon right now.
Thomas Jensen has gone back into the pit lane, so he will not be improving. Stoffmill maybe slightly improving as he is about halfway through his lap now. So looks like he still might have a chance for the top 2 if he gets a good lap in. Not sure he can really ski. Oh! A lot of oversteer through there. And that's the end of his lap.
Yeah, that's going to end his lap. We did have that as Sebastian Bruno across the line. He's currently on an improvement. So we move himself up. He boosts to P11.
Mark Whitford also still out there, improving by a couple of tenths. Our current top 2 is also still out, but not improving. Whitford heads around the final chicane. Still has those couple tenths, so looks like it will be a time improvement. But will it be a position improvement? It's very close between him and Thomas Olsen. And it's just a time improvement, so he stays in P9. And looks like it will be Vincent Urbich who takes pole position.
So yeah, good result by him. He takes pole, his first pole in the OVRC. And quite a significant margin as well as we'll be heading into the race. And yeah, that's sort of a surprise. Mike Stoppel, Thomas Janssen, Lawrence weren't really there to really close that gap. And yeah, the ones behind him are even further gap. Quite a big gaps happened, really. P6 to P11's fairly close. But outside of that, yeah. So, we'll see how they can recover in the race as we'll be soon heading into race session, at least for prep. So, I don't think it's really decided yet. I think it depends about people's race pace. Their pit stop, of course, there is the pit stop rule that is still in place as the cars are now all lined up on the grid. So yeah, a Honda NSX front low lockout. So they seem very strong around here. The BOP probably a bit in their favour. The Honda, well known to be quite strong at certain tracks, especially the IGTC tracks. So Suzuka, Bathurst, Kalami apparently is quite strong as well. And maybe some other cars a bit down on power or speed. It won't be interesting to see how this does pan out. And people keep the race pace going. Is it just a tyre thing? for people to keep their tyres going into the next bit. Does seem clear right now, so there's no risk of rain at all from what I can see on my end. So will be dry, I imagine, for most of the race. As on screen, he's starting good up to P24, so spot any drivers you have predictions for. I'm not really sure. Urbeck's time was quite a significant gap, so I don't know if anyone can close that gap in race pace. I mean, Stoffmel's always there. Jansen could be a possibility. Lawrence has been strong in race. So, but really depends if people can match that one lap pace that he had earlier. As we will soon be underway. 1 minute until the cars will start rolling. So, any predictions you got, Erwin, about?
Well, it's always hard to call, especially because we're still a bit unfamiliar with our current pole sitter. And we don't really know yet what their race pace is going to be like. Stoffmel not having a really good run as of late, so I'm not sure I'd put him up for one of the potential winners, but although you can never count him out either. Jansen starting P3, having a good chance as well, but yeah, Urbridge definitely seems to have seems to be very dominant in qualifying. So we'll just have to see if we can convert that into race pace as well.
As the cars will start to roll off the start grid. As the lights will turn off, obviously it's dark, so the lights will be preferably on if you want to see where you're going. As this will be the last night race of the season, so after this we go back to sunny daytime. And I'm only surprised it's not raining, given it's Japan. Suzuka, well known for its wet weather.
Yeah, so no rain predicted for the next 30 minutes, and it's a 19-degree air and track temperature.
Urbeck was racing at GT4 last week. I believe he was in the Alpine. He did have a spin. But yeah, we'll see how strong he is here. Obviously, currently sitting on pole as they go through the Degners. So quite a bit of way to go. Obviously, it's quite a quick lap, but quite a long lap. 5.8 kilometers long apparently this circuit, which makes actually one of the longer ones I believe that we've raced at. Spa being the longest at 7 kilometers roughly, I think. This is quite a lot of fast corners, so obviously the lap is not long. So down the back straight they go. I guess they'll be lining side by side up as as we head into 130R. I get a bit of tyre temp into the car as the track is 19 degrees roughly around the whole circuit. Typically we have the inside line to turn 1, so if he can get the jump he'll be pretty safe. If Lawrence can get the jump he'll manage obviously still around the outside, but we'll see as we'll start to go side by side now, just before the chicane.
We've got 27 cars on the grid, so a lot of people turning up for this. That's very nice to see.
Quite a jam-packed grid as they head into the chicane. You can see the cars going quite far back there in that camera shot previously. So, we're now on the start-finish line as they line up in that rough grid boxes as they slowly make their way down it. It's still a very long straight down. Feels forever when you're actually driving. So now approaching the start line, all cars lined up. As we are going green for round 3. 4 I mean, as some cars in the background start to weave out to try and get positions up. Let's start by the lead as he slots in. Mike Stoffmill jumps Janssen.
Marcus Lawrence gets spun around.
Almost immediately there.
What happened there? As, yeah, the back of Lawrence got hit by Mike Stoffmill. Lawrence dropping all the way down to 25th position because of that.
Not a great start to the race. As watching the replay right now. Good start by Stoffmill. Barely a little touch there, spun him around. And then gets collected by, I believe, that's Milliot in the Lexus there, so... Awful start there as he's off the side of the road. As the current order's all a bit messed up, as Vincent is trying to make a bit of a getaway now as the order's shuffled up quite a bit. Vincent will try and use his chance to make a bit of a getaway now as he's nearly broken the gap to 1 second already.
As it seems like Marcus Lawrence has retired from the race, unfortunately.
Being a bit of damage there by the whack of the Lexus coming through. And the Aston Martins, I believe that is Thomas Olsen on Markov in the background there. Around the outside and all a bit of contact there into the chicane. Gets punch the car as John Dalton's around Sebastian Brunier. Sebastian will stay in the front for now. Saying that. Being very close there in the background there, it seems. The other cars are struggling, especially for that turn 1. Some cars having a different line or not, as also Rawson is on the attack as well. Managed to get past Christoph Verstappen in the background. The gap to the lead is 2 seconds already. There's always a bit more going off in the background. Look at who was involved in that.
Jordan Ronsink is spun around, so I'm guessing he was involved in that. let me have a look at what happened to him. Ooh,
Gets
went onto
loose
the
on the deck. No,
grass.
loose on the deck. Hits Mawson. Hits James Butler. Cars behind trying to get out of the way. Mawson seems to keep going.
That is a nasty crash for him. And of course also for everyone else who got hit as a result of that.
Good avoiding by everyone else coming through there. It's quite a blind corner and suddenly seeing a car parked the wrong way. Not exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, very scary situation there. Oh, Mark Whitford. What happened to Mark Whitford? He was spun around at the final chicane.
Doesn't get back underway. Watch the replay of that from... So far, quite a messy start to the race. A bunch of people have incidents already. A few retirements. Let's see what happens then. Oh! Whitford just gets loose through 130R. It spins out on his own. And then Olsen drifts across into Olsen there. Watch for him. Ian gets underway as cars trying to come through.
We're getting a bit more gaps between people now. Vincent Urbridge almost 3 seconds ahead of Thomas Jensen now.
Oh, and
Yes.
Olsen hits
Verstappen.
Christopher Verstappen through the spoon. Ah, dear me. Yeah, we'll need to calm down a bit at this point. It's getting a bit out of hand. Aston goes a bit wide there.
And Verstappen has retired from the race. So, not a great start to this race in terms of incidents.
Yeah, it seems a lot of... just from what my perspective, obviously I'm not driving right now, but it just looks a bit careless by people. Suzuka is not an easy track to overtake. You know, off high-speed corners, you've got to be quite aggressive with the overtakes, but it seems a lot of laziness to sort of drifting into people while following them, so I don't know, it just seems a little bit asleep right now. But we've still got 1 hour and 20 minutes to go.
Still quite close between Thomas Jensen and Mike Stoffmill as they are fighting for P2. As Urbridge now 3.6 seconds ahead of them.
Yeah, he's got lots of pace in that car. I even feel like if Lawrence and people were still there, I think he would have had a bit of advantage. Obviously, depends if he can keep that going for the pit stops. Mike Stoffmill is currently just chilling behind right now as the gaps are... Unfortunately, due to the very early collisions, the gaps opened up massively over the first laps or so. Bottoming out there, going to 130 yards. Ooh, Mike Stockman was a bit loose there. Well, some people are running a bit of a low drag configuration, or bit not quite got the car settled.
So Mark Whitford went into the pit lane after that incident, and he is heading back out now. So presumably he has done some repairs to his car.
Quite possibly.
Obviously, he lost a lot of time doing that, so he's in the middle of traffic right now. But one of the Aston Martins behind him.
And there was another bit of contact. James Butler and Sasha Hasse collide. Sasha Hasse managed to keep the car going, gets hit by the Porsche going through. Can't really blame the Porsche there. But spears off into the tyre barrier at turn 1. Another instant where people just, through these fast corners, you just gotta be a bit more careful when you're following a car. Just ease off a tiny bit, guys, come on. Seems people are being a bit aggressive as the gap for the lead is open to nearly 5 seconds.
Yeah, meanwhile, it seems like Stoffmill may be gaining slightly on Thomas Jansen. Tom Pottage and Robert Nygaard are pretty close as well.
Yeah, it does seem like Nygaard's got some decent pace in that BMW as Pottage is dropping back from P2 and P3. Quite have the exit speed out there, but he does seem to be gaining quite a bit down the straight, so maybe the McLaren's lacking a bit of top line speed. At least the setup that Tom Pottage is running.
Stoffmill at the end of the straight did have a bit of a look down the inside of Thomas Jansen, but wasn't really close enough to attempt anything. They're still very close together though. And Stoffmill seems to have a little bit more pace right now. So maybe we will see some moves happening later in this race.
Quite possibly, as Mawson is trying to close the gap to John Dalton. Again, these lots not having the best race so far. Quite P8 and P9, given these guys are normally tough fighting for P5. See if they go, as Sebastian Bruno is ahead of them. Bit of free air.
I'm liking the glow on the exhaust on the back of the Lamborghini. Looks almost like it's got extra lights.
Yeah, it's kind of the effect that AC does for the glowing exhausts on the Porsche as well. The entire exhaust construction there glows in the back. It's quite nice to look at when you look at it go past. Make the fight down a bit down the order is currently a fight between Patrick and Carlisle. Patrick driving the Nissan GTR, also known as Godzilla.
Stoffmill again right behind Thomas Jansen on the straight. Will he be able to try anything into turn 1 this time around? Almost. Getting close.
There's not quite enough slipstream there to make it really happen. It's somewhat of the common theme in these races, just the slipstream is not quite strong enough to really let the cars get past. Unlike, let's say, in a more high downforce car, where you punch a bigger hole in the air, where they'll gain a lot more. These two seem fairly stuck together, as Nygaard's dropped a bit off the back of Tom Pottage.
Yep, there seems to be a little bit more of a gap between them now. Pottage picking up the pace a bit. Stoffel and Jensen doing very similar pace though. Yes, they are getting close to the end of their laps again. Let's see if Max Stoffel can get any closer on the start-finish straight this time around.
One of the Lexus has gone off at the end of the hairpin. That's Sasha Hase. So there you go, very wide spoon, and just trying to get a run on the Aston Martin there, but
Stoffel again very close to Jensen. Again having a look down the inside, but not quite enough. Their lap times are very similar right now, so that explains why Stoffel is again finding himself in the same situation as last lap.
yeah, these guys are fighting. I think Stoffel's trying to get a further front, because obviously if he's got a bit more pace in that car, he might be able to close the gap to Erkspix up ahead. Obviously the gap's now 6.5.
Robert Nygaard has again closed the gap to Tom Bottage.
Yeah, he's closed the gap, a bit back and forth. Patrick has got ahead of Carlisle, now in the fight for P12. See if you can do anything this time around. There's a yellow flag out on track. I don't know exactly where, as Stoffel is closing the gap now on Thomas Janssen once again. Will he get enough run this time around?
Seems to be slightly closer this time. As Jensen starts swerving around, so he's noticed as well.
Alongside it, Chat, we're going down to turn 1. As they go alongside it, Chat, good bit of defense by Janssen there. None of them managed to touch each other, so a bit more like what we like to see here. Mike Stoffel once again behind the Bentley. I guess the good news, at least for Janssen, is that they're pulling away from the cars behind, so not going to risk right now of losing much more than P3 if he does lose position. Obviously, his plan will be to keep P2. Definitely seems the brakes seem to be Stoffel's strong point around here. I got still within half a second of Tom Pottage. Ryan Mawson's on the back of John Dalton as well, so quite a few little bits of racing going on.
I think Thijs Dendo may have just had an incident as he is heading into the pit lane. His car looking very damaged as well.
Right, Stoffel has another go this time around. They head down on the start-finish straight. Doesn't seem as close this time around.
Yeah, they're back to about the same gap as a couple of laps ago. The gap between them when they entered the straight was about 4 tenths. Whereas last lap he got to 3 tenths, so it seems like he needs to be within 3 tenths of Jansen on the straight to be able to try anything into turn 1.
My God, still probably in the same sort of situation as what's up in the early up the road. Whitford is still going around there and the Bentley behind. He's a lap down, unfortunately for him. And he will have to stop again due to the mandatory pit stop pit window rule.
Yep, still got about 15 minutes to go until the pit window will open. As that normally happens around the 55 minutes left in the race mark. Sofmel again closing up on Jansen, this time on the back straight.
We have a go into the chicane.
Looks like he wants to. Oh!
Ooh,
He hits the back of Thomas Jansen.
Jansen turned around a bit.
They are both going to be losing a bunch of positions there. Sofmel down to P4. Jansen down to P5. Sofmel is slowing on the straight to let Thomas Jansen pass, so taking responsibility for that. As he will also drop behind one of the other cars.
I think that is.
I think that's Whitford.
Yeah, it's Whitford. He's currently a lap down. Wilson still trying to close the gap to with the incident for Fight P2, has meant that Airbus has got a larger gap than he had before. He's basically quite safe in terms of the pit stops unless he really makes an error.
Yeah, looking like a dominant performance for Airbridge so far, although of course he is also kind of assisted by the incidents happening to the rest of the top 5.
Yeah, I don't. Mawson's getting very loose there at 130. He's been struggling for traction this last lap as we've been watching on board, so yeah, something's not quite right with his car, his setup, or his tyres. He is moving a lot.
Cottage and Nygaard are still fairly close together. Though a bit more of a gap than we've seen before. So we'll have to see how quickly Thomas Jansen and Mike Stoffmill can gain on these guys to try and get their old positions in the top 3 back.
See if they've got the pace to really do it.
have
A
to
bit more
wait and
time.
see.
The limit truck closing down to Carlisle now. Seeing Mike Softball's being let pass by Whitford. He's now going to attempt to try and close the gap onto Janssen once more. Things are quieting down a tad right now as the gaps are once again extended.
Yep. Seems like Jensen might be closing the gap to Nygaard. We'll have to wait and see. Because Nygaard did do a slightly better lap last time around, but just visually speaking, they seem to be a bit closer.
And these guys are all trading pace right now. As Markov is close to the back of Jeff at the head. Him down in P11. Mawson once again closing the gap down to John Dalton, so assuming stuck in a fight for a while with each other. So far no one's yet managed to pass there. Dennis Barber is closing the back to James Butler. Butler was involved in a few instances at the start of the race. Currently, well, the only Audis racing right now on track. Obviously not a very popular car.
Duffmill pretty close to Jensen again, definitely closing up. They seem to be both closing up to Nygaard as well.
Getting quite close now. It seems that Jensen is slowly closing the gap to Nygaard as well, so...
Yep, Jensen under threat from Stoffmill though, as he is very close behind now.
Yeah, but they're to the hairpin right now, so both of those two seem to pick up the pace of a bit. Stoffmill a bit more than Jansen.
Yep, just hope they can keep it clean this time around. Yes, the pit window will be opening in about 5 minutes time.
See how people will respond to that. So Jansen, Stoffmill looking down at 130R to make the move happen. And does slip in ahead of Thomas Jansen. Jansen might have a fight back into the chicane and goes alongside, but ultimately can't quite make it happen. And Stoffmill will move ahead for now. As they now head down towards turn 1. Good move by Stoffmill there, and he moves up to P4.
Nicely done for Stoffmill there. It does, that fight does seem to have extended the gap toward Nygaard though.
And Nygaard just up ahead, but see if Stoffmill can now get to work closing that gap again. Gap to the lead is going to be at 20 seconds now, nearly. Just in the gap between them and Jansen is opening up a tiny bit. So once again it all quieting down a tiny bit. Onsig is still out on track and he's trying to close the gap to Mark Webb. After having a fairly early incident going on, he is on his way, trying to make his way back up the order. Just looking up and down, just seeing where things currently stack, and it does seem pit window will be up in the next few minutes as Wanzer goes wide out of the chicane there. Possibly power down a bit too early. It's costing a bit of time to Mark Webb in the Lamborghini up the road. As the Mawson and Dalton site seems to be hovering around the second now. Doesn't seem like any of those lot can really do anything about each other. As Nygaard and Potter have also, has also extended a bit.
Yep. Stoffman and Jensen closing up again to Nygaard though. And of course we also have the pit window about to open in just 34 seconds.
It'll be interesting who will pull the pit first, or it'll be a fairly even split. Will people just wait a bit further? It depends really how people feel on the tyres and if they've got damage at all they're carrying around.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering especially about Stoffman and Jensen right now, if they have any damage. They don't seem to have any significant damage, but if they do, that could be a reason for them to pit early.
Pit window is open.
As the pit window is now open. So the drivers will have to make their mandatory stop for tires within the next 20 minutes.
Who will pull the trigger first? As Johnson Wansig will be going into the pit lane, so will Sampino and the other one of the Aston Martin. So those first two cars to enter the pit lane.
Mike Stoffmel is right close to the back of Robert Nygaard now. Jensen not quite keeping up with Stoffmel though. There's a bit more of a gap between them now. So it will be interesting to see if any of our front runners will be entering the pit lane early.
As they're heading now down towards 130R. And none of them pits for now. Or stay out, as I believe McRae's in the pit lane now.
Yep, so a lot of people, a bunch of people further down the order, getting their pit stops done early. As John Dalton and Ryan Mawson are both into the pit lane as well.
For those two thinking that it might be the final put, as obviously they're following each other in.
Yeah, they are very close together coming into the pits.
And Nygaard's got forced around the outside by Stoffmel. Stoffmel takes the inside line through Dunlop into Degner 1. Will Nygaard be alongside enough to make an attempt back? Not quite, as he slots in behind. So Stoffmel moves up into P3. Got a quick run down towards the hairpin. Will it be enough to make an overlap? Not quite. He's got a bit more. He's got time to exit now.
I'm just keeping my eye on Mawson and Dalton in the pit lane. See which of them gets out first. What the gap will be like. Ryan Mawson just heading out of his pit box. Dalton still in there, just getting out. Oh, I think Mawson had to get on the brakes there. And so they will rejoin the track in the same order they were before, although they will have a car in between them, it seems.
That's the
and
leader.
That is Vincent Urbridge.
Dalton being blue flags right now. He's probably expecting blue flags at this point in the race. Vincent has been putting the laps in, has been very quick as Morton almost goes to the back of him right there. As Jolson's bit into the wall there. Being a bit aggressive, but it has allowed Morton to move in a front for now. So 15 minutes after the pit window to go, and a few of the lower end runners have pit. See how many of the front runners will pit soon.
Zed Murray in P13 is currently in the pit lane. As the front of the pack is getting close to the pit entry now, so it's interesting to see if any of them decide to get in. Doesn't look like they will.
Stuff while closing that gap down to Tom Pottage a tiny bit as well right now.
Yeah, in terms of lap time, Stoffel was actually quite a bit faster. Jensen slightly faster than Nygaard. He doesn't seem to have the pace that Stoffmill has at the moment. Wondering if he may have sustained a bit more damage, or if he's just not feeling too confident right now.
Confidence is a bit lacking around Suzuka. Some cars, you can just see it, the cars are twitching a bit. Suzuka's quite a hard track to set up because it's a lot of twisty sections, but a lot of straight, so you've got to either compromise one direction or the other.
Pavel Markov is now in the pits.
Going for P10. On the backmarking Porsches as ahead of the E2 pack. Can't quite tell which one that is. It's Markov. 314 car. Seems like a fairly long pit stop around, considering how quickly people are getting lapped by cars. Obviously, they haven't pitted yet. Get out of the way for Tom Potter's coming through, and he gets in front.
23.5 seconds lead for Vincent Urbridge now.
Yeah, he's currently still lapping the 2:02 last lap, so he's still quite a bit of. I mean, Softmill is the next closest in terms of lap time.
So just over 10 minutes left in the pit window. James Butler currently in the pits. As is Dragon's Bite.
More further down the field, runners in the pit lane as Mike Stoffel darts into the pit lane now. So one of the top 5 cars now in the pit lane.
Yep, the first of our top runners to enter the pit lane.
We are halfway through. Keep it up.
We are halfway through the race now. And halfway through the pit window as well.
Ooh, Tom Potter gets a bit loose there. He's back behind Markov again, so it's not a stable car at McLaren right now.
As Mike Stoffmill heads out of the pit lane. Like he will be rejoining in P7. As he just drops to P8 as another car gets by.
With half the race completed now.
Yep, Adam Carlisle currently in the pits. As we still wait for the rest of the top of the field to make their mandatory pit stop. Yes. Oh, Vincent Urbridge is into the pits, so the leader is into the pits. Anyone else be heading in as well?
Tom Potter's in the pit lane. Noah Nygaard and Thomas Jansen also entering the pit lane now as well. It seems like everyone is now pulling the trigger. Thomas Olsen will be the next car of the pack to go in as he enters the pit lane now as well. Sebastian Brunier also enters the pit lane now. Patrick
So everyone finally making their stops now, it seems. All of our top 6 is in the pits.
Microsoft will pass Patrick, so he will be coming in the car to be on the pit lane exit.
Yeah, Vincent is heading back out.
And gets a stop and go 30 seconds.
Oh.
For speeding in the pit lane. I have to imagine that.
I can't see it being anything else, considering he just left the pit lane. So that it could get very interesting. As he's going to lose a lot of time.
Yeah, well, the pit lane, he's going to lose about... As Stoffmill gets ahead of Tom Pottage on the exit, so he'll inherit P2 for now.
Yep, everyone else is back out as well. Thomas Jansen ahead of Robert Nygaard.
So it looks like the race, which was fairly set for Vincent to win, might become a bit more interesting now. As Mike Stoffmill is let loose, essentially. We're trying to close that gap as quickly as possible. Question is, will Tom Pottage get overtaken by Thomas Janssen as Robert Nygaard just seems a bit further behind, so he lost a lot of time in that stop.
Yep, slow stop for Nygaard. And that's allowed Janssen to overtake. Well, Patrick Sajic is in the middle of all of these guys in the Nissan GTR.
He doesn't have to get out of the way. He's not getting blue flags.
He's in P4 right now.
He's very in his right to fight these guys. Now, is it the smart thing to do? That's another question. But he's allowed to fight them if he feels like it.
I imagine he'll be heading into the pits very soon as well. Vincent Urbich is in the pits again to serve that 30-second stop and go penalty.
She'll put Mike Stoffmill possibly ahead now. It's worth noting that on the last lap, Stoffmill did extend the gap, lose some time as Patrick does go in the pit lane now, which lets Thomas Janssen be free. So Vincent stuck there for 30 seconds. That's going to feel like an eternity. But he is serving it.
Yep, and he's going to lose a lot of positions out of that. Still a few people yet to make their stop. Valentin Molliet and Mark Whitford. Mark Whitford, of course, spinning very early on in the race. Currently in P14, but yet to make his stop. Vincent Urbich heads back out. And it looks like he's going to rejoin in P9.
So, he's just behind John Dalton right now. He's a bit on his own right now. So, last time these two were together, one was a lap down. The tables are now turned, and now they're racing for position.
Oh, how the turns have tables.
I think Vincent should not have too much of a problem right now, but it's more just trying to close that gap to the leaders now, while dealing with traffic and possibly other cars, because obviously most of these cars now are willing to, well, they can defend. They're allowed to defend. They don't have to let them through. So Stoffmill's basically just now just hammer the quickest lap times he can right now and see if he can extend that gap as much as possible. Thomas Janssen needs to probably get past Tom Pottage if he wants to have a good shot at the podium. Yeah, basically everyone in front of them is where put their fastest laps out of the can because they've got a very fast charging Vincent coming up.
Yep, Vincent has a lot of time to make up though. Still got 38 minutes left in the race.
Well, he's lost about a minute. Roughly. With that stop. So, a lot of time to make up. He might be getting quite aggressive. He doesn't have a lot of straight line speed in that car. Obviously quite trimmed out, a lot of downforce. It's just looking at how quickly he closed up. Back of John Dalton there. As he just breezes past the McLaren. Takes his first move into P8.
So making quick work of John Dalton. I mean, realistically, I don't think Dalton had much of a chance against him, considering he was leading the race by over 20 seconds at one point.
I think a few drivers just not getting the pace out around here as they would normally do.
Molliet and Whitford are in the pits now, so those are our last drivers to make their stop. As Molliet gets back underway. But Hurt stays in for a little bit longer. As he now gets back underway as well.
There's 1 minute left of the pit window, and if that's everyone, it won't matter.
Yep, everyone has made their mandatory stop now. First rejoins in 21st. Close behind James Butler.
So Vincent has set his fastest lap that time around. We are watching on board with him right now for the last few laps as he is attempting to close the gap to cars up ahead. The next target will be Mawson, who I believe is just up the road from him right now.
Pit window is closing now.
Urbridge quickly gaining on Dalton.
So, 1.5 second gap to Mawson. That gap closed very quickly indeed.
Yeah, so very fast laps for Vincent Urbridge right now, 1:59.4, whereas our leader Mike Stoffman is doing a 2:0.3. So nearly a second faster than Mike Stoffmill.
I don't know where that pace comes from. Because that Honda seems wicked fast right now.
Maybe it's the camo livery.
He's looking to up and make a move from Mawson now. Jack wraps around the outside of the hairpin.
And gets ahead of Ryan Mawson. Another Bentley ahead, but that seems to be a car that is going to be lapped.
Yeah. They head off the track.
That was Andy McRae, who's currently down in 22nd. As Wansink is quite close to the back of your Kimchuk right now. In a fight for P15.
Yeah, so Wanzig has... Oh, Mulia gets a drive-through penalty for extending track limits. So a bit too many cutting the tracks there.
Ooh, Wanzig heads off the track.
Too much speed going to 130R.
So right close to Yakimchuk on the straight. Not close enough to try and make a move. Simply just losing too much time going wide earlier.
Gallus Bibe is also in the pit lane right now as well.
Right, as Vibe is immediately heading back out. So I wonder what was going on there. Possibly some damage, or maybe underfueled a bit.
It's now closing the gap down to Sebastian Brunier. Wanzig is trying to look for a move currently on Yamichuk.
Like he should be close enough on the straight this time around. Although Yakimchuk gets a better exit there.
Yeah, Porsche got a bit more traction at the corner there.
We've got some quite large gaps between people right now. Microsoft Mill extending his lead to the rest of the pack. 5.4 seconds ahead of Tom Pottage right now.
Jansen also dropping back from Tom Pottage. It doesn't look like he's got quite enough pace to get back into P2 right now. As
Wanzig still close to Yakimchuk as they're getting towards the end of his lap. Wanzig running wide there. See if we can get a better exit out of the chicane this time around.
Ooh, Vincent tries to make me with Sebastian.
Like he has.
Oh, there's a bit too much going on right now. Vincent spears off the track at the hairpin, trying to overtake Sebastian, goes a bit onto the grass.
Onsink goes down the inside of Yakimchuk into turn 1. Looks like he's got the move done.
Yeah,
Moves
he
up
does
to P15.
just caught the end of that move. Good move there. Got nice and clean. He's going to move a bit of the road for the next car, which is Sampino in the Aston Martin. There are 25 minutes left to go. This is the current standings of the field. Max Verstappen currently leading with a 5.9 second gap. To the car behind. As Vincent's got a 42 second gap, so he's going to close that gap down as quick as possible. Interested to see how it goes. As we're currently on lap 31. As Vincent is trying to get the move done on Sebastian Brunier right now.
Bridge right up close to the back of Brunier again. Let's see if we can do it this time.
What's he trying to make something happen in the chicane?
Had a look, but didn't try anything. So he'll just have to try and do it into turn 1. Looks like the gap should be close enough. And no, he will stay behind Brunier for a little while longer. Oh, Brunier runs wide.
He's fighting the car to try and keep it alongside. He's getting very close right now. Sebastian holding his line. Not letting it go easily at all.
Straggles by past a drive-through penalty and is in the pits.
That Honda seems to get a wicked launch out the corners though. There's a bit of the Audi and stuff, the naturally aspirated cars, with that how quickly it accelerates. He does eventually get past Sebastian. He does a stellar defense trying to keep him behind. Yeah, just that car. This is so quick right now. So, 12-second gap. He's got to go to Thomas Olsen. 22 minutes. Wonsik has got past Sampino as Yamanchuk also closing that gap as well, so something we have missed over the last few laps.
Yes, Sampaio seems to be a bit on the slow side right now.
Definitely struggling with something right now. His fastest lap is not much slower than anyone else around him, so definitely something going on right now affecting his pace. Ooh, it's actually getting a bit wide there, possibly. A bit too much speed going into the corner. So Mitchell is getting lapped by the leader right now as Stockmore's approaching. These guys will be taking blue flags. Right, Stockmore moves down through Degner, one of the Degners, and does move ahead, so trying to extend that gap if all possible. As Mitchell's going around the outside. Lost a bit of contact there, but will manage to make it happen. It does seem as heading to Spoon. He does so Mitchell moves up into P15.
Vincent Urbridge is closing the gap to Thomas Olsen, but it's quite a large gap he's having to make up. Still 8.9 seconds away. And then the gap between Olsen and Nygaard is pretty big as well, as we've got just 18 minutes left. Let's see if he can still make it into the top 5.
It's definitely the quickest car on track right now. We've got a few back markers up ahead he's probably going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the quickest car on track all race, but he's just unfortunately had that 30-second stop and go penalty after presumably speeding in the pit lane. He gets past the back marker of Zed Murray.
Yep, he is trying to close that gap as quick as possible. And
Stoffmel with a 7.2 second gap to Tom Pottage now.
yes, the gaps at the front have definitely grown over this race.
Thomas Jensen is in the pits. What's happening to Thomas Jensen?
Ryan certainly was not doing particularly well before he started the race and was going to try his best effort to do it. So he might have got to the point where he can no longer continue. He's definitely parked that car up.
So that has now moved Vincent Urbich into the top 5, as indeed Thomas Jensen has disconnected from the server. So that's a real shame.
Bit of a shame, unfortunately, but make sure you look after your own health for a race. In the day, it's a hobby.
Yep. We have just about 14 minutes left.
So, which is 5 seconds to Thomas Olsen.
Yep, still closing that gap. Mike Stoffmill nearly 10-second gap to Tom Pottage now. Urbich has a lapped car between him and Olsen as well. I think that's James Butler.
Yep, that's James Butler in the brightly coloured Aston Martin.
So Vincent gets past James Butler. So he's got 2.9 seconds to Thomas Olsen now. Like he should be able to take P4. So you have 12 minutes left. I don't think he'll still be able to catch up to Robert Nygaard though, unless Nygaard makes a mistake.
Vincent under 2 seconds now. So just over 10 minutes to go. And he's right up behind Aston Martin. Thomas Olsen just not right defending just yet. He'll possibly starting to do it now as they're down the start finish straight for lap 36, 39, I can read. Looking down the inside of turn 1 and shoots straight past him. Easily done. Moves up into P5. P4, I mean. The gap to Robert Nygaard is 11.2 seconds. As Markov is right behind Jeff right now as they head down to turn 1. So, last minute fight with these horses. Mark Whitford is also in front of Sampino now. Markov looking, possibly getting a good exit here. Didn't quite make it happen. Nygaard's losing quite a bit of pace to Tom Potters now, so Ozzy's starting to struggle a bit as well. They've got a 10-second gap to Vincent.
Yeah, so Vincent gained about a second and a half on a Nygaard last lap. So I don't think that's enough to try and overtake with under 7 minutes left in the race.
And Markov getting a good exit there from the chicane, down, following Jeff down towards turn 1. It pulls out around the outside. Tiny bit of contact quite possibly there as he a bit of a slide. Loses a bit of time out of that in the end. Gap now opens up between these two as Vincent now 8.5 seconds from Robert Nygaard.
So Vincent gaining 1.8 seconds on Nygaard. Mike Stoffman has a 12-second gap to Tom Pottage now.
Stoffman is also trying to put fast laps out as well. He's the second fastest car on track. As Parker makes a little mistake there and takes a bit of a run off. Track has definitely gotten colder as the race has gone on by a few degrees. Oh, 3 minutes to go. Not long now. Vincent is definitely...
Mark Whitford has just gotten ahead of Sergei Yakimchuk.
Ah, so he's on a...
Yeah, Whitford currently in P14 after having an incident on lap 1. So he fell all the way down the order, now in P14, so I'd say that's a reasonable recovery for him. Currently doing a last lap he did a 201.7. Which is somewhere in between Tom Pottage and Robert Nygaard in terms of pace. He does have some decent pace in him, and clearly gaining a few positions. We have under 2 minutes left now, and Mike Stoffman has just started another lap. So this might be the final lap, or we could get another lap. It's going to be very close. Whether this is going to be the end of the race.
I think it's going to be one more lap, depending how quickly Mike Stoffman completes this lap.
I mean, he might just get off the throttle on the straight, because he has more than enough gap to be able to finish the race there.
It depends if he wants to help out Nygaard or not, really. As Nygaard is going to be soon a threat by Vincent in the next few laps.
Vincent seems to be not having one of his best laps either. Currently a second down on his delta.
Let's see if he waits to be slow in the chicane. If he's gonna 13. He's slowing. He's definitely slowing. As you cross the line now, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Checker flag will be out.
The leader has
And he
finished.
crossed the line to take home P1. Mike Stoffmill wins Suzuka.
Tom
Tom
Pottage comes in P2, crosses the line now. Robert Nygaard will follow in P3.
Yep, he's gonna
That's-
just about make it if he doesn't make a
Oh,
mistake.
Urbridge
now.
gets another drive-through penalty. As
Right
he
at
just
the-
went off track limits.
Oh no. Pushing.
You could see it in the background as I was watching Robert Nygaard. Could just see Urbridge running wide and getting a drive-through penalty, so he will drop further down the order.
He's plus 30 seconds. He's just
Oh.
pushing a bit too hard there, I feel like, towards the end. Thomas also comes out in P5 for now.
Sebastian Bernier heading down to finish in P6. Or P5 it looks like, after Urbridge gets his penalty.
Mawson comes in P6. John Dalton come home in P7. Well, the fight between Jeff and Markov will come
Tom
from the
Pottage
line.
has already disconnected from the server. So our results that we're seeing on screen right now aren't quite right. There's supposed to be Tom Pottage in P2 as well. A Jeff crossed the line in P8, or whatever position that's a being. So Mike Stoffmill wins the race, followed by Tom Pottage and Robert Nygaard rounding out the podium. Vincent Urbridge ending up in P7 after that 30-second penalty for track limits.
Yeah, so not the exact the result he wanted. Such a strong qualifying, strong race pace, and then penalties decide that he's not going to win today. Unfortunately, sometimes that's just how it is. But good drive by Mike Stoffmill there to. Unfortunately, he did murder 2 people, so it'll be interesting to see how the stewards react. Obviously, quite a bit of messy race at the start there, so results may change. Obviously, check the website if you want to see the final standings. And yeah, overall, a okay race, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. So if you enjoyed the race, we would really appreciate it if you could click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to catch our upcoming races. Next week we will have the GT4 series at the Hungaroring, and then in 2 weeks time the GT3 series will return at Misano, and we'll also have Vincent Urbridge pole lap going up on the channel pretty soon, so subscribe if you want to see all that.
Yep, and till then, we'll see you then.
Goodbye.